from JP Greens at Greater Noida. You're watching Tea Time, and I'm Chetty Narula. Today we're going to be joined by a rather fancy B-School grad. He's a young entrepreneur. He's dynamic. He's happy-go-lucky. He speaks his mind, and he has a genetic love for food as well because he's the son of Zorawar Kalra, who founded Punjab Grill. Today on the show, he will be dissecting the food and beverage industry in India in much detail. We're being joined by Zorawar Kalra.
On the show this week, we have Zorawar Kalra, founder and MD, Massive Restaurant.
The main thing that drives us is a true love and passion for Indian cuisine. I love Indian cuisine. I want it to be represented the right way.
In news, continental Europe ended a 13-year drought in the Seve Trophy by defeating Britain and Ireland. And Tiger Woods seals President's Cup victory for the United States over the Internationals.
Welcome, Zorawar, on Tea Time.
Thank you very much. Thanks
so
for
you've been playing golf quite a bit, it looks like, in Boston, Michigan, all over the place in the U.S. while you were graduating B-School.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun, especially in Michigan, where I believe a stat I heard somewhere that it's got the most golf courses per capita than anywhere in the world. And we had a very robust, team golfing thing that we had in our company, where we golfed at least twice a week. And it was good fun because we got to play with our directors and various things, and it was a lot of fun. Good learning environment, good place to meet some of the bigwigs of the company.
Now, talking about career, you are somebody who has a very natural entrepreneurial bent of mind. You also have a genetic love for food because of your father, Zorawar Kalra. Tell me more about the announcement of massive restaurants that you made with your father.
I started a company, Rapster Foods, in 2008. Started off with a restaurant called Punjab Grill. It did very well. We ran it for about 4.5 years, and we made it immensely successful. It had 8 or 9 restaurants across the country and 1 overseas. And in 2012, we decided to exit the business to start our new venture where we were going to have majority stake. So Massive Restaurants was born at that time. It's a culmination of 40 years of his presence in the industry and a few years of mine. So we're trying to join hands, father and son, to form a company that hopefully, like its name, is going to be massive.
How did you take on to becoming an entrepreneur in this space? Was it because father called Zorawar Kalra was already a well-established name within the industry, or was it your love for food? Was it something that you had always wanted to do? If not somebody who's an entrepreneur in the F&B industry, what else do you see yourself as?
My roadmap in life was pretty early planned, and you could say that I kind of inherited this love of food from my father. And as in any foodie household, the conversation during the whole day, especially during dinner time, with the food and restaurants and all that stuff. So I developed this very keen passion for being in the restaurant business at a very young age, maybe in my early teens.
Right.
And I decided that time that I wanted to run a company that would put Indian food on the global palate. You go to any restaurant in the country, any country in the world, and you get several good Chinese restaurants run by Chinese who love their food, do authentic stuff, get the masalas, get their spices, everything else from hometown, from the home country and everything else. Indians have not been able to do that. Go to London, which is considered the mecca of good Indian food outside of India. The quality is still not up to the level that you'd get perhaps in India. So I kind of want to change that. I want to have Indian restaurants that represent our cuisine better across the world. And I think that's a crusade of mine, and I'm going to stick on to it.
Time now for me to tee off.
All right.
Zorawar, I was again reading somewhere about you, and you said you don't really understand why people are always trying to reinvent the wheel in the restaurant business. It's something that you just don't understand. Why? What is wrong with reinventing the wheel in the business?
My take on the restaurant business is, if you do 3 things right, you will succeed. And as long as you focus on those 3 things, your chances of success are very, very high.
Right.
And I very often see people trying to do gimmicks, trying to do unique things that instead of adding value to the experience, actually detracts the person away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you focus on three things, like I said before, one is the food, right?
Right.
Ultimately, it's all about the food. If the food doesn't taste good, nobody's going to go to your restaurant. Second, very, very important thing is the entire experience, which is enhanced by the service standards. And the third thing, and I really think this is more to do with, not really with the guest experience, but with the business side of things, is the location. I've seen people make great restaurants, but in the boondocks.
Yeah.
And what happens is, fabulous food, great, a lot of effort, a lot of soul, passion, blood, tears, sweat, everything goes into the restaurant. And nobody goes there because it's hard to get to, or in a place where people don't want to go. So, that's one of those unfortunate realities of the business where people just think that if I open a good restaurant anywhere, it'll do well. It could be the case. It is the case in a lot of Michelin-starred restaurants, but why would you want to make it harder for yourself? If you open the same good quality restaurant in a good location, it'll be easier for you to do business.
Now, Zorawar, you've got plans to come up with a 500 crore rupee listed entity in the next 5 years to come. Take us through this entire vision that you have.
So, that is our BHAG, or Big Hairy Audacious Goal, and we are standing at a stage where, the industry is growing very rapidly.
Right.
We want to take advantage of that. And I think if you have the correct locations, if you have the correct concept, and if you're catering to a specific need that exists in the market, you can be huge. So our goal is very clear. We want to be a 500 crore listed company in the next 5 years.
Under the same brand, Massive Restaurant?
Absolutely. So the company is going to be called Massive Restaurants. It will have multiple restaurant brands within it.
Yeah.
The key ones being Masala Library, which is our fine dining, very upmarket.
Flagship brand for your
That's
company?
right. It is a flagship brand because it's the only one that will have the Jigs Kalra tag name with it.
Okay.
In fact, it will be the only restaurant in the world currently with the Jigs Kalra tagline. And what we're trying to do at that restaurant is very simply put Indian cuisine onto a different platform.
So 500 crores now. You're going to be raising 500 crores, of course, from the market and coming up with multiple restaurants under Massive Restaurant brand. What is the footprint going to be like geographically? Are you only targeting the pan-Indian geography? Are you also trying to go a little further up, APAC? What is it going to be like?
Our goals for the various brands are a little bit different. Masala Library being the flagship modern Indian cuisine restaurant chain is going to be very, very selectively located. So one in every major city in India, for example, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore.
So that's pan-India.
India. And then for Masala Library, we want to go overseas. We want it to be in Paris, New York, London, Sydney, all the major cities of the world. We want it to be there. And I think the main thing that drives us is a true love and passion for Indian cuisine. I love Indian cuisine. I want it to be represented the right way, not in the unfortunate way that it is being currently. And that will happen through a lot of dedication and effort and a lot of focused effort in that direction.
Right. So quite driven is the story of Zorawar Kalra, whose love for Indian cuisine is something that he wants to take to the rest of the world as well. We were going to be discussing about his entrepreneurial journey in much more detail. Good time now for us to take a breather. Zorawar and I will see you on the other side.
Technique in terms of the food that they make, technique in terms of the service standards that they have, and most importantly, the respect that they show for the ingredients. So they source the best food.
Thank you for staying with us in this segment. We are going to be specifically focusing on the changing paradigm for the restaurant business as well. You've got social media activation, websites, tech-savvy consumers, the young India, which is vibrant, well-traveled, globetrotters, challenges and challenges. What is the evolving paradigm for the restaurant business for 2013?
I think technologically speaking, it is a paradigm shift like you specified. And I think it's very interesting times because earlier, you only had a few outlets through which people could voice their opinion of a certain restaurant. It could be, writing into newspapers or, on certain basic, interviews or various stuff like that. But now, with the social media and blogging sites and all that, everybody can voice an opinion. that can be a double-edged sword. You know, some people can vent their anger, which is not good for anybody.
Yes.
Or some people can give critical feedback and positive feedback about experiences that they've had. So it's a very interesting time. I personally welcome it. I think social media has changed everything. I think blogging is a fabulous phenomena, which I would love to engage with even further.
So, Zorawar, are you also seeing a lot of interest from private equity players and venture capitalists into the food and beverage industry of late?
Absolutely. There are some big ticket deals happening. Personally, I've had a lot of queries, but we have funding in our company now. We have my friend Gaurav Goenka's Mira Hospitality has invested in my company, and so we're good for now. We don't really we have enough funds to accelerate and propel our growth for the next 3 years, and after that we're going to go ahead and raise some more funding.
So the F&B sector in this country, is it getting weighed down by high food cost inflation? You've got a fragmented market. You also have suddenly a lot of influx of restaurants and small little restaurants also opening up, which are not even a part of the larger chain. So there has been that enhanced level of competition and competitive pricing that we're noticing in the F&B industry. Is it at all weighing the industry down, or is it healthy for the industry?
So obviously some of these things are positive, some of them are negative. I'll start with the third part first about the fragmented market and a lot of competition. See, competition is always healthy. It should be taken in a positive way. I feel that traditionally the restaurant business has been a very high failure rate business. 9 out of 10 restaurants fail within the very first year. They shut down shop. And the biggest reason is undercapitalization, which means they think if I have XYZ, if I have $100,000 to start a restaurant, then I can start a restaurant. But they don't realize that if you have 6 months of losses, you have to have funds at the bank, working capital, to be able to fund that. So a lot of people make that mistake. Yes, first thing you mentioned was inflation. That is a very, very big issue. It has an effect, especially in the smart casual dining or the quick service business. Maybe not so much in the fine dining business, where traditionally your food cost is lower, under 25%. In the quick service and the CDR or SCDR businesses, you usually have a situation where you cannot keep increasing prices because they're price-sensitive target markets, right? And you have to absorb some of that cost. You can't just pass it on to the guest. So there, yes, high input costs have a huge effect. And I'm hoping that the government will put into place certain steps to stem this and make our input costs lower. But the fine dining category, however, is largely unaffected. And especially if you have a good destination restaurant, sales usually are not affected by these other factors. Shot.
Thank you. A lot of operational challenges as well, fragmented manpower, real estate, operational costs as well. Take us through some of these other challenges too in the F&B market that you're facing currently.
So all three of these definitely remain major challenges for speedy growth. Biggest one being real estate costs. Usually for a restaurant to survive, or rather thrive, 15% and lower occupation cost works. Now what happens is you have usually these numbers going up to 20-22%. That's eating up 7% of your margin, right? So basically you end up working for the landlord. And that's no fun. I'd rather work for my shareholders. And that is one of those things that I think the market will correct itself. We can't really fix that. Second thing you mentioned was manpower. That is definitely a big issue, especially in the F&B space, which has usually been plagued by very high attrition rates. Luckily for us, we've been good at keeping and hiring good talent. So there are two parts to this. One is you have to find the right people, and the second harder part is actually keeping those good people. And we've been lucky. We've had a traditionally very low attrition rates in the low single digits. The reason why we've been able to do that is by having an HR system that is designed to be supportive and demanding. So we follow that process fairly to the T, and we're able to come up with a system where our employees are usually happy and they're able to work much more efficiently.
Right. Now I'm going to catch you off guard with this. Apart from your existing brands that you operate with under Massive Restaurants, which is your favorite restaurant? Where is Zorawar would like to go out and eat when he wants to get out of the house?
You know, one of my very favorite restaurants that I've now started going fairly frequently to is one that I've been to very many times, even in the U.S. Le Cirque. Le Cirque is one of my favorite restaurants.
In India, let's hear from someone. In India, where is it?
It's in Delhi.
Okay.
Leela Chanakapuri. It's a very, very good restaurant, one of my favorites. And my other second favorite is also a restaurant that is from New York. And it's a Japanese steakhouse called Megu. And incidentally, that also
Megu
happens
is
to
a
be in
Leela.
Kumar.
Yes, yes, yes.
So two of my favorite restaurants in the same hotel.
So what is it about, let's talk, I know about Megu. What is it about these two restaurants that excites you?
Technique.
Love it.
Technique in terms of the food that they make, technique in terms of the service standards that they have, and most importantly, the respect that they show for the ingredients. So they source the best food. They source Wagyu beef and the best Parisian foie gras, and they make it with respect to the ingredients. So they don't overcook it. They make it rest. They do all that, technical stuff to make the food taste great. And second thing is, you can really go to research and be absolutely sure that the service standards are going to be sublime. So I go there, and usually all the servers over there, very well-trained, highly qualified guys, these guys could be managers in other restaurants. They're working as servers over there. They know your tastes and preferences. So they know my drink before I even get there. And that really helps.
So an interesting point brought out there by Zorawar. In the F&B industry, it's all about that one word, which is technique. And of course, you might agree with me, it's all about the vibe as well that you create at the restaurant.
Absolutely.
And good food is something that you cannot be a stranger to when you're into the business of restaurants. We're going to stay in conversation with Zorawar and touch upon a few more aspects in the F&B industry. Let's take a quick break. Zorawar and I will see you on the other side.
Any company that's able to survive the next 5 tumultuous years, you're going to have a big, big market to serve.
Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time. We're in conversation with Zorawar Kalra. Now, Zorawar, there are two major concerns in the regulatory framework that the F&B industry faces. You've got high taxes, then you've got even more high taxes. And of course, you've got a problem with over-licensing as well. What are these challenges that you are facing apart from this as well?
Well, first to touch upon these two, these are very, very significant challenges that I'm sure restaurateurs as well as the consumers are feeling. You pay for a thing that is 100 rupees and you end up paying 135. That 35 is just taxes that goes to the government.
Yes.
Doesn't go to the restaurateur, doesn't go to the business.
Pinches the customer and how?
It pinches the customer, and in a way, I, as a consumer myself, find that to be a little bit too much. So something needs to be done there. They need to make it more sensible. It's just irrational right now that you have to plan for 35% extra, and then there's tip on top of that. So usually it's very unnerving for the customer, and something needs to be done here. The second thing you mentioned is licensing. That's a very sour point for us. Quite a few of our projects have been delayed by several weeks or months because of over-licensing. And the system is structured in a way that it makes everything harder. I opened the restaurant in Singapore that I mentioned to you earlier. All my licenses were done in a matter of days, online, and the inspector comes, he sees your place, if it's compliant, it's got all the legal aspects covered, they give you the license, no problem. Here, you will not even get the time of day for months. It's just too much red tape, too much bureaucracy, which needs to be controlled for the industry to grow, because eventually this industry gives a lot of revenue to the country, right? Gives a lot of taxes, a lot of value add goes into the economy.
So the Indian F&B industry as it stands today is worth about 2.47 lakh crore and expects to hit at around 4 lakh CR by 2018. Is that in line with your estimates?
Absolutely. It is a very fast moving industry. It is at $48 billion currently and expected to go up to about $78 billion at a compounded annual growth rate of about 11 to 12%. That is quite significant. That's quite good. And I think it's very interesting times to be in this business. The industry is going to grow leaps and bounds. We're at the nascent infancy stage. And like I said earlier, any company that's able to survive the next 5 tumultuous years, you're going to have a big, big market to serve. So I think it's a very interesting time to be in this industry, and I'm loving to be a part of it at this time. I think this is one of those times I used to think when I was growing up, I wish I was born 10 years earlier and taken advantage of the IT boom.
Right, so it's one of those times right now. That's very, very, very interesting. So are you working closely with the government on tackling this issue of multiple licensing, do you have a union, do you have a forum where you're addressing this, or it's just something that you will keep voicing and nothing really will be done about over-licensing? What is it that you guys, as part, an important cog in the wheel of the F&B industry, doing about it?
So we're fighting these battles on multiple fronts. But I think the best way forward for this industry is to kind of, be a part of these forums or be a part of these associations. Yes, we are a part of a couple of them, and with them, we are taking on this task of trying to resolve this issue of licensing. Because I think alone, you don't have the kind of power that you can have as a big group. And some of the top players in the industry are now taking this very, very seriously. And we're all thinking of getting together and having a engagement with the government to address some of these key issues.
So what next is Massive Restaurants? What next for Zorawar Kalra and his career as well?
So Massive Restaurants, hopefully, like I said, the name says it all, wants to be massive. The next 5 years, we want to have a large company that adds significant value to Indian cuisine, has presence nationwide as well as overseas. Within the country, we're looking at Tier 1 and Tier 2 for our smart casual dining concepts. And for the fine dining, we're going to stick with metros. And we really want to have a company that grows organically, that is recognized as a true leader in Indian cuisine, and that eventually takes Indian cuisine to the global palate. I think that's one of our key goals here, and we're very honest in our goals. We're very clear in our focus areas, and if we maintain this focus, I think there's good future ahead for Massive.
Absolutely. Let's finish our game. When did you take on to golf? It looks like you've been playing for a while.
Well, I have a very shady relationship with the game. It sometimes makes me happy, sometimes makes me extremely depressed. And so I've been playing since I was about 14, but on and off. So there were times when I engaged the sport with full gusto and full, steam ahead and full robustness. And what happened was I eventually found out that this is one of those sports where you play against yourself, not against anything else. And that's what really excites me about it. So I've been playing since I was about 14, on and off. But I really picked up golf when I was in Michigan, like I said, where we were playing almost 2 to 3 times a week. My scores dropped significantly, but since then it's been hard to play on a regular basis.
So here's an interesting one. You love playing against yourself. So with Massive Restaurants as well, does it believe as a company ideology in competing within itself, but more than competing outside?
Absolutely. We look inwards. We don't look at what other people are doing. We think that if we are true to our goals, we will end up creating standards that will be the industry standards. So I really don't look at what other people are doing. I'd rather improve internally. I'd rather have the best systems, the best restaurants, the best locations, and the best people, most importantly, to drive this company forward. And I don't really care about if other people are doing better numbers or lower numbers than us. I just want to have the most smooth running operations in the industry. And if I'm able to achieve that, then most probably I'll be at the head of the pack.
All right, on that note, thank you so much, Zorawar, for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was lovely talking to you on the show. That was Zorawar Kalra and me, Chetty Narula, signing off from JP Greens at Greater Noida from hole number 1, par 4. I will see you next week again. Until then, enjoy the flight of a good drive.